Hey guys, and welcome back to the Divine Witch. Today we are going to be talking about a simple ancestor ritual that you can do at your home. And remember, guys, you can do this at any time in the year. You don't have to necessarily do it around Samhain or the Day of the Dead. The reason most people do is because the veil is thinner. One of the common practices is having an ancestor altar, so this would be a perfect place to do this at. Now, I currently don't have all the supplies I need to actually give you a step-by-step demonstration of this video. So please bear with me. I will link all the items that you will need down below, and I will be giving you information as we go along. So the first key thing that I want to talk to you about is sage. Now, most people like to sage their house. They believe that it gets rid of negative spirits, any bad energy. But in my own personal practice and belief, I believe when you sage, you not only get rid of any negative, but you get rid of any positive as well. So when you're doing this, it's kind of like setting a neutral zone within your home. Now, me personally, I have my own spiritual room and I have my reading room. So my spiritual room is part of my bedroom, and my reading room I do in my dining room. The reason that I don't sage these areas is because I don't need to. Most of the time, you're going to sage areas because you need to get rid of a negative entity. Maybe, there's been things going on, people are getting stressed, you're arguing, whatever it may be. These energies build up, and over time, it starts affecting the house vibe, and it also affects you as well. For me, I don't have that issue, and I prefer not to do it when I'm doing any kind of communication work, whether it's with my ancestors or if it's for a reading for a client or for a friend. So it's personally up to you on what you feel is good for you and your spiritual practice. Now, you can do this one of two ways. You can either use an apple or you can use a pumpkin. Now, these are two representations of fall, so you can't go wrong with either one. And you can even do the apple all year round. You can get personal watermelons and do it as well. It's really up to you. What I do is I take my fruit or my pumpkin, whatever it is, and I dress up a candle for that ancestor. I do this for each of my ancestors. So if I have my mom and my brother and my dad and whoever else, they will each have their own little pumpkin and they each have their own little candle that will actually go on top of that apple or pumpkin or whatever it is, fruit, vegetable wise, that you're planning to use for that person. Now, you're probably asking, okay, why? Well, this gives me a clear focus point. It gives me somewhere to actually put their picture against and to represent them and the candle, and it's an offering towards them to let them know that I'm thinking of them. So what I would do is get that all situated. The first step that would be a good one is go ahead and get your candle, inscribe their name. You can use scents that they like. My mom was a big fan of lavender. She loved purple. So I'm going to use a purple candle. I'm going to use lavender. I'm going to put her birthday on it. Just simple things like that. And you can decorate around each of your pumpkins or your apples. It's truly up to you on what you want to do and how you want to dress it. I personally do it just for the reason being that to me it adds a little bit more thank you, and I still remember you, and I hope that you're still around. And when I'm doing my magical work, if you're helping things along, this is one of the ways that I show appreciation. And I do this throughout the year as well. Now, sometimes I won't use fruit. I'll just do candles by each picture, depending on the year, depends on the candles I'll use, and so forth and so on. Another good thing that you could do, if you make anything that's handmade, such as candles, then you're actually putting more of your energy into it. You're able to shape and mold and add those certain elements that remind you of that person into the actual candle itself. So that's also another way of saying, hey, I love you and I miss you. So once you get all that done, then you're gonna, now me personally, I don't call my corners. when I do this because I don't need to, because the spaces that I have in my home are considered sacred spaces. So I am protected within those areas, along with my home as well, because I have my own protective measures. And I don't really need that. Now, for some of you, it just may be something that you do all the time, no matter what it is. That's up to you. Some people like to call on their angels, some people like to call on their guides. It just depends on what's more uncomfortable for you and your path. So, when I do this, I will set up everything for each individual. And then once I get done with that, then I make a big dinner that day. So once I make that big dinner, I set each of those individuals a plate. So you'll have your candle going, your pitcher, and then the plate of food as an offering as well. Now, when you're doing this, some would refer to it as a silent dinner. So that way you can sit there and you can eat with your ancestors as you do this and see what signs, what messages, what smells come along, what memories come up. And that lets you, and that's an indicator to let you know that they are there, they are with you. So once you've had your dinner and everything's done, then have a moment with your ancestors. Share memories. If you have like a group of people that you're doing this with, let's say if you guys just picked one ancestor each and you're getting together, you've got the pumpkins. Here's a cute little thing that you can do if you're doing this in a group setting with a bunch of people and you want to make it look festive, but you also want to be respectful. You can set up either your own table or at the table where you have all your food at and actually set up each of the pumpkins, apples, whatever it is you got in a circle with those plates around for those individuals, and then have everybody there sitting around. Sorry, my eye's been like, it's been a long day. It's just something that you can do that's very interactive. And then have everybody go around the table and have a memory that they shared with that person, whether it be a good time, a bad time, or just something from childhood that has popped up in your mind, because that's their way of communicating with you, like I said once before. So once you get done with that part, then if you're not in a group setting and you're just like with a significant other, or you're just with you and your ancestors, sit there and, take your time. Talk about those memories that you have and about how your life's going, and, ask how things are going with them. Now, I know when it gets to, asking how they're doing, most people say, well, I can't communicate with spirit. I can't communicate with my ancestors. I don't have that ability. We all have an ability, whether if, for instance, you don't have to hear them through your ears. You can see an image in your mind, like I said, a certain thought, a certain smell. Sometimes you'll feel like someone's touching your shoulders or whatever it is, you know what I mean? And that's your indication, like, hey, they're there. Or if around this time you want to set up your own Ouija board or pendulum, and you want to have each ancestor and you're talking to them and you want it to sway one way for yes and one way for no, and that's your way you can communicate with them as well. If you're good with tarot, that's another way you can communicate. You can ask a question, shuffle the cards, look at their picture, flip it over. It's a great way to get communication from them as well. Let's see, what else can we do with our ancestors? Now, me personally, I have a couple traditions. I don't only have this tradition that I do. I'm not going to give you the wording just for the reason being that this is personal. This is one of those times where this is something that you need to think of exactly what you want to say, what you want to bring up, because I can't tell you your experiences with your ancestors. Only you can do that. One thing I do like to do is I do like to visit the gravestones of my deceased, and I will sit there and have a lunch with them earlier in the day or breakfast and, communicate that way. I will leave a gift behind of something that they really loved. So my mom was a pop drinker. I would leave a pop. My brother liked beer, so I would leave a can of beer or something there for his gravestone because that's what he liked. My grandma loved any kind of dolls or stuff like that, so I'd put a doll of some kind by her gravestone. And then later on that day, I would do what we were talking about. Now, some people like to do communication. When it comes to communication, like I said, you can do it multiple ways. You can do it with either tarot, you can do it with having a medium or someone who's able to communicate with spirit or very in tune with spirit. This doesn't mean that you have to go out there and pay somebody like $5,000 to come to your house. A lot of people actually have this ability, they're just afraid to come forth. So if you don't have someone in your circle that's like that, then do what you can with yourself, because we all have an ability to talk and communicate with spirit. It just takes a while to get to the point to where we can understand the signs and figure it out. So this has been my version, or a few traditions I should say, that I do here around the house during the holiday. I hope you guys enjoyed them. I'm so sorry that it took me so long to upload this. And remember to hit subscribe and hit the bell notification, because if you don't, you're going to probably miss the next video. Alright guys, on that note, I hope you have a great night. Enjoy your Samhain, your Day of the Dead, and tell your ancestors I said hi. Bye.